Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I'm Stylosa, and today I want to talk about Overwatch, the team game, and the impossible task of tracking individual skill. I want to talk about Overwatch as a team game and about how it's practically impossible to track a player's impact on any given game, and also how the stats can tell a completely different story to what's actually going on. Now, inevitably, you will have better players on any given team, but remember, Overwatch is not Quake, it's not Unreal, it's not CSGO, it's Overwatch. This means players with less raw mechanical skill, so players that don't get the crosshairs onto the enemy targets faster than, say, other players, can still have a massive impact on the game. That's not to say DPS players are bad and don't win games, because they totally do win games. You have to kill the enemy to win games. But all players contribute to the win, some in ways the stats system simply cannot and will not ever be able to recognise. The best analogy I can find is that with soccer, really. The DPS players are the forwards. They're the attack. They score the goals. But in soccer, or football, a good goalkeeper can easily win games. A great defender can block shot after shot after shot, keeping his team in the game. A good midfield player can maybe keep an opposition star player under control. You see, all of these are not flashy, high-stat, gold medal rewarding positions, but they contribute to the win in ways which can't really be tracked. This is the same in Overwatch. It is totally the same in Overwatch, so let's look at some examples. Example A, Winston dives in. Winston dives into fights, throwing splash damage all over the enemy front line. He then dives out. He does this the entire game. Doing this, Winston will end the game with gold eliminations and high damage. But does that mean Winston's been doing his job? Well, not exactly. Winston should be diving the enemy backline. He should be trying to secure kills on Zenyatta, Ana, Mercy. He should then be looking for people like Genji or Tracer. The problem is, the stats will clearly reward Winston for his approach in this game, when in reality, if Winston can control the enemy supports, or take out that pro Genji player, he's far more valuable to the team, and actually contributes more to the win, even though he gets less stats. Example B, Lucio. This is Lucio being Lucio. Ladies and gentlemen, if you play Lucio, you will relate to this and you will agree 100% with what I'm about to say. Lucio gets the short stick when it comes to stat recognition, but there's a very clear reason why. He's seen in every high-level pro game. Hell, Lucio's seen in pretty much every game anyway. This is his speed boost. It is absolutely pivotal. He can control the engage and disengage as well. He can amp it up to allow the DPS to chase down an enemy. He can amp it up to allow his team to quickly move out of May's Blizzard, thus completely negating her ultimate and allowing the team to continue damaging. He can amp it up so you could escape, I don't know, D.Va's ultimate's explosion. He can drop the beat during a grav pulse bomb combo to save the team. In all of these examples, he gets no reward or no feasible reward from the stats. Sure, he will have like barriers deployed or be a stat that he gets, but he doesn't get a medal for any of that. You see, in reality, he actually gets penalised for using his speed aura instead of healing if you go completely off the stats. If he just sat there with his heal aura on, he would get a gold healing medal pretty much guaranteed. Lucio is an extremely high pressure hero to play with a high number of split-second critical decisions players are forced to make with him every single game. Decisions that are simply not rewarded, and they never will be, because what are we going to do? Get a medal for speed boosting? Well, of course Lucio would win that. So it's very hard to track Lucio and very hard to track what Lucio is actually doing in any game. But before we get into today's video, I want to show you this app. This is Oversumo from the guys at Dojo Madness. Now, they asked me to take a look at this, and I would not be recommending this to you guys if I didn't actually think this was really good. Now, there was an old version of this app which basically gave you this, which was tips on how to play the heroes, which is fine and great. However, this app has been massively updated, and it has an insane stat tracking system inside it, which I'm going to show you guys now. So what you do is you enter your account into the app, and it will give you performance statistics. Now, you're looking at mine here. What this is the general overview of my performance based on the Oversumo internal stats system. So you'll see at the bottom, it says Zarya Master, Reinhardt Platinum V5, or I5, which means high platinum, and then Lucio Diamond. So we'll get into that in a minute. The new version introduces performance ratings. The ratings are based on the Overwatch competitive tiers. All you need to do is enter your account into the app, and it will pull all of your information and compare it against the Oversumo database. It gives you ratings for all important hero specific stats. All data is shown per life as well, and so for example you can see Zarya's average damage per life is average eliminations and like final blows and all of that stuff, and then it adds them into the tiers of which Oversumo creates itself to give you more of a sort of a representation of the level that you're playing at. It gives you ratings for all important hero specific stats. All data is shown per life. So for example, you can see the damage done per life here on my Zarya profile. These are the performance tiers. Now, this is very interesting because the detail of the stats shows the goals for each tier and how many players reached it. You see, gold and platinum tiers are split into 4 sub-tiers because around about 80% of all players in Overwatch are in these tiers. Now, these are not Overwatch tiers in the game. These are tiers within the app, but it's a very great way of seeing where you actually are. So you can see it's rating me as sort of high diamond, very close into masters and then into grandmaster tier based off their stat system. It also gives daily performance analysis. Now, you can see that I seem to have played okay with Ana in 5 games. I played at a diamond level, and then I went on to play at a master level with Reinhardt. It also gives you daily performance details as well. So you can see the heroes that you've played that day, and then you can also see your stats that day. So look at me. I played Ana 2 games. Oh yeah, I was pretty good. I was playing at Master. Lucio, not too great. Maybe had a bad game with Lucio. I think I swapped to Lucio in that game, potentially. I might have been playing Ana, then swapped to Lucio, something like that. Reinhardt, I had an okay game. And you can also see more daily performance details. So this time you're looking at my Ana profile. And if you notice the small white bar, that kind of shows my average performance, which you can see that I am performing above average. And we've got the little sort of green arrows pointing up saying, well done, Sty, you're playing quite well. Guys, this is Oversumo. Go and check it out. There's links in the description below. It works on iOS and Android. And honestly, it's a really, really great app. It's great. Go check it out. Example C, McCree the anti-flanker, effective eliminations. The enemy has an especially strong tracer. She's absolutely decimating your team's backlines. McCree makes it his mission to protect the supports and shut down the tracer. He succeeds and allows the supports to continue supporting the team. By protecting the Ana and Mercy players, McCree allows both supports to continue to build ultimates, which could potentially be used to swing a major team fight. In this case, McCree might not come top for damage or eliminations, but he has effective game-winning eliminations. This is a stat the game just can't track. Example D, Junkrat and Pharah, gold damage, gold eliminations. Junkrat and Pharah can be interchanged in this example. They cause high splash damage to the enemy team, which means they'll inevitably pick up gold eliminations and damage. They spam attacks into enemy positions, causing high AoE damage. This damage is then healed up, allowing the enemy team to build many ultimates, not to mention crucial support ultimates, while only either the Pharah or Junkrat is building their ultimate on their team, or on your team even. This is not effective damage. It's not securing kills, it's actually helping the enemy team. The problem is, these players will be rewarded come the end of the game with golds and potentially believe what they're doing is correct, when in reality, they need to show constraint with their attacks and instead look to secure kills on players rather than spamming choke points. There's nothing better for me when I'm playing Zarya and I see a Junkrat or Pharah spamming away into a choke. So much free charge. Example E, game awareness. Now this example is non-hero specific. It comes down to an individual player's team communication and contribution. This cannot be tracked at all. It is totally impossible to track. This could be a player encouraging their team, picking their team up with words of reassurance after a bad team fight, a shot calling player giving the team direction when they need it, or maybe a player analysing the enemy team's composition and saying, oh, maybe we should change our team, or a flexible player just willing to fill as a tank even though they're a main Genji. Example F, Ana, sleepy time. In this game, Ana manages to constantly sleep enemy nano-boosted Reinhardts. She also manages to sleep McCree and Reapers during their ultimates. She has just stopped potentially devastating enemy ultimates that could wipe your entire team with a normal ability. And you could also potentially put McCree into this as well with his flashbang. These would be considered super clutch plays, but in the eyes of the game, it's no different than randomly sleeping enemies with a sleep dart. Sleeping an ulting Genji is way more effective than sleeping the last enemy in a team fight that's trying to run away and you sleep them. But the game will never be able to quantify this in stats. It will just give a sleep as a sleep, and that is it. And of course, none of this contributes to any gold medals that you may potentially get. Example G, Tracer keeps the control point alive. It's 99% each on the final round of Ilios. Tracer moves back to the fight and keeps the point contested, allowing your team to get back into the fight. Your team manages to wipe the enemy and secure the point. Tracer has just won you the game. Again, this is an impossible stat to track. Sure, the game does track time on objective, but the level of skill required to stay alive on a point where multiple enemies are attacking you is extremely high, and the game is never ever going to be able to differentiate between that. So when it comes to stat reward, you'll get no reward for that. Example H, Mercy calls die. Mercy has her resurrection available. 4 players in your team are dead. The enemy has used Graviton, Nano Boost, and Death Blossom, but you're alive, damaged, but still fighting. Mercy calls for you to die. You suicide into the enemy. Mercy brings the entire team back. The enemy team is damaged from the previous fight before the res. You are now back at full health. You win the fight. Mercy will likely get play of the game for this and resurrection stats, but it's the call that that just can't be quantified. Mercy could have simply rest and got the 4 players that were dead up straight away, ignored you. She'd still get play of the game, but by calling for you to die, she gets a 5-man res, ensuring that you win the subsequent team fight. You see guys, Overwatch is a team game, and this is what makes the game absolutely brilliant. And much like every other team game I can think of, you need players with different skill sets to make the team work. You need the great DPS players, you need the solid tanks, you need the intelligent supports, you need the great team players. The sad fact is, Overwatch's skill rating and in-game stats system will never really be able to quantify your contribution to the game. But just as in the soccer analogy I gave at the start of this video, forward players, i.e. the DPS players, will always be the star players. You see, at the end of the day, Overwatch is about removing enemy players from the game so you can secure the objective. That is the DPS's job, and it's a high pressure job. But the DPS, they cannot do this alone. Just as in the supports or tanks cannot win the game on their own. It's a joint team effort. All parts need to work together to secure the win. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to comment on this video below because this has been more of a essay style video of me, and I had to do this in like a script format because there's so much I needed to cover. I didn't want to go off track too much because the stats system in Overwatch, it's almost an impossible task. And we go on from the stats system to even the ranked competitive system, which again, it's never going to be able to perfectly identify your individual player skill level because of the game that Overwatch is. Sure, you could have a Genji player who is extremely good, really, really good, but he still relies on a team. He could be the greatest player ever, but he still relies on a team around him. That team doesn't have to be phenomenal, but they need to know what they're doing, and that's what Overwatch is about. This is why Overwatch is such an attractive game to many different players out there. It is not just about the raw accuracy, the raw mechanical skill of a player like CSGO is. It's more about the calls. I know in CSGO you can make calls to say, you know, you get players who do great flashbangs, great smokes, or make the calls to attack whatever bomb site and stuff like that. So you still do get that. But every player needs to be on a certain level of skill, right? If you can't put the crosses on the enemy, you're gonna be a hindrance to your team. In Overwatch, you could maybe be a Reinhardt player that doesn't have to focus so much on accuracy, but needs to be so aware of what's going on and needs to control the flow of the engagement and needs to know when to go in, needs to know when to get that perfect earth shatter off, needs to know how to mind game the enemy Reinhardt. And that's what makes this game brilliant. I have never before in my life played a game where there are so many different roles and it is such a complicated game and that I can just see so many layers of complexity in this game. I can just bounce around playing all kinds of different heroes. I went through a phase of playing Ana, it was great. Played Lucio, it was fantastic. Zarya, fantastic. Reinhardt, fantastic. I play McCree sometimes, I play Hanzo, Reaper, all these different characters. They're all different styles of characters, and it's such a fantastic game. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Stylosa, this is Unit Lost. Please leave a comment below, and like the video if you did like the video. You can follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLostGaming, and I will catch you on the next one, guys. Toodaloo.